So people, did you know that we have a 2026 sketchbook coming out? What, you didn't? Okay, well, this is the official announcement to do just that. We need you guys to get on board. So your money, your pledges, and your donations go to helping the two people out that are working on assembling this sketchbook. One of them is Princess Gino Janelli, and the other two are just as important, almost. But they're going to put the book together. So if we don't raise the bread for these kind of things, we can't do the sketchbook. Don't cry. I know how you feel. I feel the same way. And it is also funding something that we call the Nexus Encyclopedia. And this is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. You know how guys, they when an anniversary comes around, like in this case, the 45th anniversary of Nexus, they put out kind of like a photo album, a yearbook kind of a thing. And they include everything that ever happened from the very beginning to make something like Nexus the comic, something that would be in the market. Let's see if we can do that, okay? We need you guys to donate whatever you can, because whatever you give us is better than nothing, okay? So, but however, you big spenders out there, obviously you are blessed to our very hearts. So I look forward to seeing what we can do to raise this bread and get the sketchbook going and the Nexus Encyclopedia. I was going to call it the compendium, but apparently that's messing some people up. So it's going to be called the Encyclopedia, and it's got everything that ever happened with Nexus from the beginning of the conception. Anyway, so we need your help with that, okay, guys? Thanks for all your pledges, which I know are going to come in by the billions as soon as I stop talking. Back to work.
Hi, this is Steve Rude, co-creator of Nexus. We have some news for you.
Every year we kick things off by collecting a full year's worth of my work into a single art book. That means finished paintings, studies, the experiments that I often find myself doing, and pages straight out of my personal sketchbook, notes it all. A deep dive into what I've been learning, wrestling with, and figuring out at the drawing table. If you're an artist who's frustrated, who feels stuck, and wonders if your voice even matters at times, you're not alone. Wherever you are on your journey, we're all still students, and there's no single right path to what yours should look like. There is a formula, but it has not been in books. It really is plain old courage, standing on one's own feet, and forever seeking enlightenment. That came from Andrew Loomis, figure drawing for all it's worth. This book shows you how that plays out in real life. From the failures, the small breakthroughs, the notes to myself, and the experiments that worked, and especially the ones that didn't. Everything I've documented over the past year of my life is here. Not as instruction, but to help fuel your own artistic journey. I would have loved to have gotten this close to my favorite artists' processes when I was learning and growing up, so I hope this book will give you a deeper appreciation for what goes into every illustration, because none of it is random. This year's cover features my painted illustration, something I call The Escape, that features Nexus and Sandra Peel. And speaking of Nexus, since this year marks its 45th anniversary, we're also taking steps to finally finish a long-awaited project. We call it the Nexus Encyclopedia. That's where something called the Nexus Family comes in. It's not part of this art book campaign, just a small side path for folks who want to stay close to the process to help support the final stretch of that book, making sure the editors and designers who have poured years into this can finally cross the finish line with us. And if you want to see my work as it happens, I'm live in the studio every Saturday at 1:30 p.m. Arizona time. So thanks for being part of this journey and for helping me keep independent art alive. If this book speaks to you, consider backing this campaign and maybe sharing it with a friend or even an enemy.
This is Steve the Dude, signing off. Au revoir.
People, welcome to a pre-recorded live stream. If that sounds funny to you, it sounds funny to me too. if you remember last week's debacle, I was busy painting away on this picture right here, and something happened. What is it? It's No, you're gonna make me work for it. Okay, it's walnut oil. Hey. And what pisses me off is that if I had just looked up, I could have easily seen what the problem was and why it was going to happen like that. So why didn't I look up? No idea. This has been happening a lot to me lately. Things that I'm looking for are literally feet away from me, as in these feet, and I don't see them. I don't get that. So we're back painting away on this painting that I'm having a lot of fun with. This has actually been something that's that was started years ago. You know how that goes. And we're back in the saddle. We're back working on this thing, and I'm having actually a lot of fun. I had a lot of trouble at some point until literally like recently that I kind of thought I lost my affection for oil painting. Well, nobody wants to has that happen to them, but it did happen to me. So I had to go through years of not knowing how to deal with that. And you know, these things are very funny things that happen in life. Sometimes you know what's going on, and sometimes you don't. In this case, I wasn't quite sure why I wasn't having fun with it anymore. One was I really needed to get good reference material before I set out in one, and I hadn't been doing that. So that's one of the problems that we had doing all this kind of stuff. Reference as in like what I'm doing right here. I really should have something better than just my imagination to go by here. You know, I can do that, but why bother? It's just it's much more much more satisfying to do it when you've done your homework and you're prepared for it. I think that's, if you listen to artists talk, that's something that they will bring up a lot is I didn't prepare for it enough. Well, we don't want that to happen to us. So thankfully, with the help of some people really helping me out that know things that I don't, like everything, we're basing this painting on a Norman Rockwell painting, as you can see. And as you can see even more, this is something I never saw coming. A friend of mine found a way to Photoshop this Ray girl into the same position that I had her here. Now that's just nuts. But I'll take it. I'll take what I can get. Some subjects that we're going to cover today. Thankfully, I wrote a lot of them down that I can talk about. The first one is speaking clearly with no throat clearing. Now that one's out. How does one... Okay, this applies to exactly what we're talking about here. How does one keep their inspiration and quality of work after many decades? I just wrote 30 years. I don't know if somebody can even answer that. I don't think that's something you can qualify at all. It's just one of those things, and you know how one of those things goes. Thing one, thing two. A lot of people lose it. I don't think that's a phenomenon that is unknown to you guys watching this take place right here. there's just a lot of ways that fall out of love in what you're doing. I think it's the kind of thing where you start off having a lot of fun in the beginning because you have so much to prove to yourself and everyone else, and then the ambition that you had to show yourself off to other artists at a certain point, it kind of diminishes. And it diminishes because, well, in my case, I'm not working for the comic companies anymore. I've left that behind. So I have no one to compete with anymore except myself. So what I'm doing these days is pretty much what you're seeing me do here right now, just kind of my own thing, taking everything I learned in life for the last however billion years, and I'm applying it to the work that I have in front of me. Thankfully, I always have work in front of me. Always glad to know that I do have the ambition to so far love what I do, but it isn't a rule. It's not in any kind of a rule book where you look at something you did a long time ago and wonder why you couldn't do it better, or however you did it the first time again. That makes sense, right? Sure it does. I should get a picture of Arnold. I have a lot of pictures of Arnold. Arnold was really big. Most of you don't know this because you were born at the wrong time. But the comic books always had, from the 70s and 60s, always had Arnold featured in their ads, as well as his friend Franco Colombo. But what a perfect place to advertise, right? Where people are skinny or fat or whatever, and they wanted to look good and like a He-Man should. So that's where these ads would go. Joe Weider was very smart about how he marketed this stuff. What more do I need here? But I need to pop a really bright highlight here. Bright highlight. You see those faces up there? You zoom in on that, you can see that when this thing fell on my head, I completely smeared an entire day's work thanks to my head. It did not improve it, the painting. Now, if it had improved it, I would have been glad and would have been happy to keep doing that, letting these things fall on my head. But I don't believe that's the case. At least not something that's going to have any sense of duration to it. You guys that, everyone knows that trends come and go. And we all know what those trends are. The trends are usually based on advancement in technology. So we went from 1,000 years of canvas and brushes and paint and shrewd observation and going outside and painting. They call it plein air. I just call it going outside. And that's the way it was for forever. And the best people that most of us like are people from the 1800s. The people that I like, and you'll know who this is, they were born around 1850. And they were actually born within years of each other. Sergeant Sorolla and Zorn. And they proceeded to live their lives like all of us do. Oh, I hate those hairs. I hate these hairs on this guy's chest as much as I hate shaving my own chin. But these guys are universally recognized in the school that I came from as people that we all look at as our guiding lights. And I like having guiding lights. I've always loved having one, and it makes me feel like I have a strong goal, to have something out there that's bigger than myself. So right now, I'm really happy to say that I'm actually having a good time here. In fact, you guys remember my famous quote about I'm having so much fun it should be illegal? Yeah. Oh, okay, well. This is all done through the knowledge of drawing muscles and legs 1 billion times over and over. Because for some reason, having to do them over and over is something that's demanded of me, because my memory is not that good. So if I forget, hello Chloe, if I forget, I have to go back and I don't know, like go to my reference file or my how to draw books. Like I'm always having to refamiliarize myself with feet. So I will do that. And then something else will come up, and that will probably be oh, you know what? When I just did that rib cage, I'm thinking of this unbelievable Strew painting that he did of Lou, Big Lou, Ferrigno, for a Hercules movie. I think it was Hercules, and it was just. I remember Strew telling me that he did that painting in Alkids, and he said he couldn't stand it. And I'm pretty well versed in this painting, because if I'm correct about this, and it looks like I'm not, I actually have that original here. It's not here. Everybody pisses me off. It should be here. Yeah, but Strew's painting of that original, I own that, and I just love that thing. But if you look at the rib cage musculature on Big Lou, you'll see that it's that alone is a work of art. It's just the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. It's it's unlike anything I've ever seen before, as far as how the flow of the rib cage. But that's true for you. You'll notice that when people work in oil, there tends to be a lot of color shifts going on in them. And that's part of what we artists have a good time with, is finding different colors in skin. Now, it's always been fun to paint black guys and girls because of the incredible highlights they have on their skin. So those are fun. Everyone likes doing highlights because, as my old teacher, Mr. Campen, calls it, it's the dessert of painting. Now, who doesn't like dessert? I do. So that's what I mean about color shifts. Let's see if I can punch it up in certain spots right here, and see if we get something going on here. This is I I file this under something that I call artistic color. I don't see these skin tones in real life. They're fairly uniform, you know, just a mixture of red and yellow, ochre, and white. But I think if one studies the right people enough, then this kind of thing is going to really pole vault your work into better places. Another thing that's going on is that I notice every time I do this is I'm actually working in a subconscious way on things that I have read, learned, drawn, painted somewhere in my life, and it comes through in ways that's kind of phenomenal. I can actually, when I'm doing a certain thing, I'm actually remembering something that I saw that I thought was really cool. Like, cool, man. And it's a fun little thing to observe, because you know it's going to make your painting better. Let's get some of that white back. White is a color that you use more than any other color. Look at that face. I sure screwed that up. But we live, we learn, and until we're not living anymore, and we learned all we can. Morbid, yes, but it seems to be the inescapable truth about life. We will all someday perish. I don't plan on it, but there's a lot of things I didn't plan on that came true. This is an overlap stroke right here. I brought this because this is behind him. I just carry the colors into this what is it? See, this is what happens when you paint. You kind of lose your mind after a while because I'm so focused on non-linear explanations. Some barbershop thing, right? That's what it is. Okay, we'll go with that. A barbershop towel. See, when Rockwell was doing this painting, he had he was working off the time period that he was painting this stuff in, and you know, that's the way it works for everyone. We all paint according to our time period. Usually people, you'll often see in original oil paintings that people really smear on the white. And that goes into a category that I think most of you know about. It's the upfront stuff should be thick, and the stuff that's in the background should remain thin. That's the general rule that you will hear from everybody on Earth, and their brother, and Aunt Harriet's dog, about what to do with when to apply thick paint. Well, I'm all for that. There's a lot of people that do not do anything even close to working that way. And that's not how I do it. I don't use oil in the sense that it's kind of a washed down, thinned out watercolor kind of a thing. I find it way more enjoyable just to use paint as it was meant to be, which is you can't paint without paint, and you can't paint without enough paint on your palette. Rockwell tells this story that a lot of us can relate to. It's he was asked to come over to a guy's house who was having trouble with his art. So Rockwell goes over there. He says, "Oh, I see the problem. You don't have enough paint on your palette." So Rockwell grabs this guy's tubes of paint and starts squeezing it out like in a generous amount, like I've got here. And the artist freaked out. He looked at that as like some kind of a sacrilegious thing, that somebody would actually inform him that part of his problem is that he wasn't painting with enough paint. Painting is a look as you learn process. You will if you persevere, you will eventually find the things that you're looking for. But there's no guarantee of any of that, because there are no guarantees in life for anything. But I would be willing to bet that if you're super motivated and want to base your life on something you just love doing, thank God we like doing this stuff. Otherwise, we wouldn't do it. Promise you that. Then it will pay off. Sometimes you want to leave these strokes the way they are, kind of blocked in without smoothing them out too much. There's a lot of cases where using just enough softening will be enough. However, I will attempt to smooth this out just a hair. And I think that fits it a little better. Very good, Steve. Well, thank you, Steve. You guys can't see my palette right now, but it's loaded with oil paint. The different things that I squeeze out of paint are pretty sizable, as it should be. As I was talking earlier about this particular piece, it was suggested to me by somebody to do these 4 characters and basing it on the Rockwell painting, Old Town Barbershop. So I have, this is Rockwell's tonal study. He worked on something he called architect's paper, and it's just this big semi-yellowish kind of paper that takes a beating. And there's a lot of erasing, a lot of going back and forth to fix things or make them better. And this paper is the stuff that he liked, and so he kept using it. Every time I look at a Rockwell, you know, I got to tell you, if I haven't explained this by now, I'll just keep explaining it till you guys understand this. But Rockwell was technically as proficient as anyone who ever lived. And take that to the bank, Jack, because it's true. He could paint as well as anybody that ever lived. He did it the way for her. This is Lonnie Anderson and Arnold Schwarzenegger for Diet 7-Up. She did it the way that's right for her. Stru told me an Arnold story that was not very flattering, if I heard this right. But he for some reason there was a group of artists over at Arnold's house, and Arnold was it wasn't his best moment. He was telling everybody what all these artists that were vying for this job right here, what artist was good and what artist wasn't. He didn't give Stru very high points. For that, I believe the death penalty should be enacted here. I mean, that's just plain stupid. And there's no lack of stupid people out there. Maybe you've noticed. So we even have some green going on in the skin here. I'm gonna really have to look up some stuff here to formalize things that I'm basically making up and don't like the idea of doing that. I love your accent. That's easy for you to say. Arnold is one of these guys. I read his book, and if you guys read this book, you will find out what ambition is really all about. These bodybuilders, when they came from different countries. They came from Franco was from Italy, of course, and Arnold was from Austria, and he had this insane work. I don't want to say ethic. That's too cliche. He had this insane drive to make something of himself. There you go. So anyone could do it. Hound dog, did you hear all that? No, hound dog's busy right now. He did it the way that's right for her. So I don't know if you can see this here, but I've got two little wash areas right here. The first one has mineral spirits, low odor mineral spirits, and next to it is Gamsol, which is something everyone seems to talk about. Oh, do you have Gamsol in your palette? Oh, well, you're doing a good thing. So I'm using Gamsol as a secondary wash thing. The main paint stuff residue comes off in this one right here, and then the second bath to clean your brush off is in the Gamsol. But I think you guys knew that. The people that follow the Rude Dude podcasts here are obviously a neck above most Homo sapiens as far as basic intelligence goes. But I don't have to tell you that because you guys know that already. She did it the way that's right for her. I miss my friends from a long time ago. They don't keep in touch. They have some kind of a weird thing that I don't understand. They're content to lose touch, and it doesn't bother them. It bothers me a lot. That's because I'm Mr. Sensitive, and I subscribe to the Sensitive Male Hotline. Smart people will get that reference. Yes, it's better not to fake stuff. So what am I doing? I'm faking stuff here. It's kind of a hollow feeling, but that's actually a very interesting subject right there that I'll get into right now. The people that have some kind of Edenic memory, something like that, something that I obviously don't have. Eidetic, there you go. My memory's pretty good because I just thought up the right word there. And okay. Okay, well, pectoralis major. I spent one summer learning anatomy. I spent the entire summer learning it. My friend Tyson, that I was rooming with when the college kids left for summer break, they would rent these dorms out to just pretty much anyone, any lowlife they could find to pay the rent. Naturally, that was not me, but some weird things took place on some of these nights that actually was kind of spooky. I'll save that for another time, so you'll definitely want to hear about that. All right, I'll tell you. So I walked into a knitting shop called the what was it called? Let me think here. The Nitty Naughty, something like that. And my friend Tyson, that I just got done mentioning, was taking one of his walks at 10 o'clock at night downtown, and his eye caught this doll that was sitting in the window display, and the next thing I know, Tyson is running up and down the stairs where our dorms were. So he just got back from his walk, and he was, all I heard was this up and down, this crashing of the stairs. And he finally comes to his senses and knocks properly on my door, so I would actually answer it instead of getting out my rock salt gun. And he says, "Dude, you're not going to believe this, but there is a doll sitting on a wheel, a spinner wheel thing, at the Nitty Naughty." And he says it came to life, and it jumped down and ran right up to the window and scared the living spit out of Tyson. If you know your friends good enough, you know that who's going to bull spit you and who's not. Tyson does not do that. Nor does the humble dude here. Whatever I say, you can take to the bank or the savings and loan, whatever your preference. You can even take it to Joe's Bank, right down the street, from savings and loan, commerce. Okay, well, all right. Oh, he's got to have some scars on him, right? There. You guys happy now? And whenever you have scars, you've got to put in that highlight thing on this side to show that it's got an indentation. This is kind of under the dessert of painting because it's highlights after all. One of the things that really pisses me off about the world I live in is something I call unfairness. Specifically, when I talk about unfairness, I think about my rock bands, or movies. Like when I saw John Carpenter's The Thing, all I heard on the internet at not too long ago was it was a failure. You got to be kidding me! That movie was a failure. Well, I'd like to have so many failures like that. The movie was impeccable. It was incredibly well done. You couldn't do it any better than it was. And maybe people are just joshing me. They're just saying that they get sympathy. Oh yeah, it cost $10 billion and it was a total flop. Well, maybe they're lying to me. I don't know. Maybe it made billions and billions of dollars. Just like this painting will go for someday. Did you know a Frazetta painting, I don't know when it was sold to one of the auction houses, but it went for $1 million. I think this should go for at least half that, if I'm being fair. Another thing that really good reference does for you is I don't have to keep picking at things. when I have the right reference in front of me. There's a lot less pickiness going on. And God knows we could all be a little less picky. So I've got this big thing of ultramarine blue, and then I've got black. Black, really. Steve Rude uses black, huh? You goddamn right he does. Steve Rude uses black. If you don't have black, you can't get something dark. For people that are obsessed with always bragging about how they use complements to dull their colors down, they don't know what they're talking about. If you take here's how I know. If you take away black in the printing press process, how do you think things are going to turn out? Better or worse? She did it the way that's right for her. Anyway, that argument is just so stupid. And yet it continues to be passed on to students that don't know any better forever and ever. Amen. Oh, people, I tell you, I love mankind. It doesn't drive me nuts. Everyone's smarter than me, and meeting them is always a real pleasure. What else do we have on on our little list right here? We covered speaking clearly. I'm sure I mapped that out very well. How does one keep their inspiration and quality of work after 30 years? We covered that. That was not speaking clearly. Storytelling, the page itself and the panels within. That's actually pretty simple. That's what it comes down to. Something very simple. But as Loomis once said, the great Andrew Loomis, is that the simplest things are the last to be understood. You can't beat that one, can you? She did it the way that's right for her. I wanted to meet Arnold once because I thought he was a pretty cool guy. You know, he was Arnold was somebody that knew what 24 hours in a day really meant. Because most people, they find ways to ignore that truth about life. They think they have all the time in the world. You don't. And Arnold, ever since he came to this country, was always finding a way to get more out of a 24-hour day than anybody I've ever known. I have a friend that's an artist, and he told me something interesting the last time I was in Pasadena. He was telling me about a guy that said he wanted to live 2 lifetimes, get as much life into his lifetime that would account for 2 lifetimes. He'd be so. I know I have the word here. Industrious. Thank you, Steve. You're welcome, Steve. He was so industrious. He wanted to make life really count in the most amazing way. Just like you guys are, right? So where was I here? I have Arnold on the brain right now. Anyway, so meeting Arnold. Yeah, I would have liked to have met him. He was he puts everyone to shame that says I need my sleep, or I need my 9 hours of sleep, 10 hours. I like my sleep. I like as good as anything I have in my life. But it does seem to be, when you look at it, kind of a waste of life, doesn't it? Having to sleep as long as you're awake when you get up, that's just nuts. Okay, so I'm going to leave the Wolverine head mask the way that it is. That's the way it is. Let's grab something over here that, if I have the brains to use it right. Which is always in doubt. Oh, you dumbass. What'd you do with it? Great. I can't find it. Boy, some people are just beyond help. And no amount of pills or how many shrinks you see can ever make a real dent in that. It just doesn't work. Okay, where were we here? Okay, so Batman, look at his face. My God, unbelievable. Oh, I gotta fix all this crap? What a crock. Here's my little wedge brush right here. It's here, I'll show it to you. It's this flat. See, it's a flat wedge. I call it a wedge brush. And it is this is a Princeton Velvet Touch number 1/4. It's just the perfect brush if you're looking for the appropriate amount of detail to go into an oil painting. See, with oil painting, you're dealing with some people call it mud, colored mud. You can call it whatever you want. But it's when you have a body of paint that is oil based. It's thick. It's the same as acrylic, really, but it's because it's wet and bulky. It's gonna have a different kind of a mode than any other kind of paint. I use it because everyone should learn to paint with oil. It's just one of those things that if you want to call yourself an artist, you have to learn how to paint with oil. And as you guys know, I don't use anything mechanical, Photoshop or whatever the hell they call that stuff. It's totally against using that. So people are inevitably going to ask me, why, Steve, do you have such a problem with modern machinery? Well, because I hate it. Is that enough? There's nothing that can replace what I'm doing here. Nothing. And I did seem to notice that after a while, there seemed to be a call for people to go back to the real thing. The fine artists obviously maintain their excitement about the real thing. Well, here it is. Bloody bastard. Okay, so from this reference right here, at least that's enough to get me started on this this ale up here that Conan is swinging around there. So let's see if I can. First of all, we need a bigger brush. A brush that is right for her. So we have okay. So we have the foam going on. You don't want to be without foam, and that should have a bluish kind of tint to it. Not the one that I'm doing here. Okay, there's a blue. And ideally, you guys probably know what I'm going to say. You need to find the real thing, whether it's a thrift shop or whatever. You know, this online stuff is still new to people of my generation, the best generation in the world, of course. And what was I talking about? Okay, so ale, right? It's dark. It's kind of dark brown, orangish kind of thing. Let's see. Yeah, right. I knew that. So the real thing, there's no substitute for that. The real thing gives you an edge on anyone who doesn't have the real thing in front of their face. Now, back in the early 1900s, before photography, everybody had to use models. At the same time, I'm a little dubious about people that have had to paint people on horseback running full tilt. I'm still not quite sure how that worked out. So I think what it means is you have to really do your studying here, regardless. So we're going to have one of these right here. I'll get into that smaller brush later on. Did you hear that, people? 45 minutes. Isn't that enough? Okay. So we have this hexagonal kind of thing going on here. It requires a deft touch. Not a deft touch, a deft touch. And from here, I do believe, going from this reference right here, not the real thing. Okay. Never mind, I forgot what I was talking about. Which is allowed in the artist handbook. If you become confused because you're trying to talk and paint at the same time, it's allowed. I've seen the book and I approve. I, Steve Root, approve of this message. So let's wrap it up, guys. Yeah, I know. Settle down. I can't blame you. But wouldn't it be nice if I had the real thing right in front of me, like real artists do, like Rockwell and Leyendecker? These guys would find everything they needed. They worked from life originally, and then when photography became a thing, it was used abundantly by pretty much everyone in the business. It just saved a lot of time. It was you could do views that weren't straight on because you had a model standing there on a bench or whatever, or just standing there straight still. And you could do things that you couldn't do otherwise. So how Leyendecker could do these running blowhards from every view imaginable, I don't know how he did that. You would have to take a blowhard and piece by piece bring the legs up, flop the ears out, and so much of that is lost. A lot of that stuff was never, his methodology was never recorded for posterity. So is that why I'm doing this here right now, for posterity? You bet. So till next time, you guys, okay? We'll see you at the Rude Dude Studios, and we'll continue to have fun using the real thing. Au revoir, auf Wiedersehen, and bye-bye.